Have you ever noticed how Paul starts his letters by introducing himself right at the top? See Romans chapter 1 verse 1 when he said, Paul, a servant of Jesus Christ, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of God. You know, in our day, when we write letters, we usually sign off with yours faithfully or yours sincerely. Then we had our name at the end. But then Paul went straight in, just like what we read. Paul, a servant of Jesus Christ, and so on. So I wanted to know why, out of curiosity. So some scholars suggested that it had to do with the nature of the scroll. Unlike our modern books or emails, scrolls were long, so they had to be unrolled to the end. Imagine you had to scroll all the way to the end to find out who actually wrote the letter, and as if you even read the letter to the end. So Paul putting his name at the beginning of the letter actually makes sense. It is actually practical and very reasonable. If you decide to read further, you'd discover that was actually the format that we're using to write letter then. It's called the epistolary format, where you'd include your name, the recipient's name, and salutation. And you know, Paul was very educated, so this is actually seen in the way the letter was written. Paul's introduction has a theological significance, which is to affirm his apostolic authority, to set the purpose and tone of the letter, to remind the readers of their shared faith and the sender's divine mission. So in this video, we're going to get to know Paul a little further. Paul was born in Tarsus. He was a Jew from the tribe of Benjamin. Paul was a Roman citizen, which was a very big deal back then. In short, that status alone gave him some certain level of legal protection that he would later use during his ministry. Paul was a Pharisee. He was deeply trained in the law. In short, it was even Gamaliel that trained him, one of the most respected Jewish teachers during their time. Paul was highly educated. He was also a tent maker, and interestingly, he wasn't married. We know he had a sister and also a nephew that helped to save his life. Before Paul's conversion, he was known as Saul, and Saul was very, very zealous. So zealous that he persecuted Christians, thinking he was doing the right thing. I was just thinking about it. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that everything you fought for, everything you believed in, everything you stand for is actually making you an enemy of the same God you claim to love. Everything changed on the road to Damascus. His missionary journey started. He became a champion of the gospel. He traveled wide to preach to both the Jews and the Gentiles. Paul boldly declared salvation by faith alone and not by works. He even confronted Peter when he noticed that he was slipping into hypocrisy. Paul wrote 13 letters in the New Testament, or even 14, and that's if we believe that he wrote Hebrews. The letters Paul wrote weren't just random letters. They were packed with deep theology, practical church instructions that should be obeyed by Christians, and also encouragements. Paul taught governors, kings, even his folks too. Paul was not without struggle.